Something's gone terribly wrong in Las Vegas. The kind of news that makes every Raiders fan stop and say, not again. Today, we've got some painful updates from the silver and black camp, and unfortunately, they're not the kind of headlines you want to hear. The Raiders' offensive line, already hanging by a thread, just took a massive hit. Jackson Powers-Johnson, one of the team's most promising young linemen, has officially suffered an ankle injury serious enough to land him on injured reserve. According to multiple reports, this could very well be season-ending. Coach Pete Carroll hinted after the game that JPJ would be out for a while, and now, it's confirmed, his recovery will take time. Whether it's 4, 6, or 8 weeks, it's bad news either way. And honestly, at this point in the season, it might make more sense to let the kid rest and come back stronger next year, especially with the uncertainty surrounding the coaching staff and front office. Before we dive deeper into what this means for the Raiders' offensive line and who could step up next, make sure you're part of this family, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss breaking Raiders updates. Alright, let's get into it. Now here's where things get even worse. Sources close to the team say Dylan Parham is also expected to miss multiple weeks with his own ankle injury. The Raiders haven't made anything official yet, but from what I'm hearing, it's serious enough that he'll be sidelined at least 2 to 4 weeks. That means both starting guards, gone. JPJ and Parham, the anchors of the interior line, both out at the same time. If you're wondering what that looks like for the offensive line, well, brace yourself. Stone Forsythe, Will Putnam, Jordan Meredith, Alex Kappa, and DJ Glaze, that's likely your starting lineup moving forward. And let's be honest, that might be one of the weakest O-lines in the entire NFL right now. It's a brutal situation for the Raiders' offense, and with Brennan Carroll trying to hold this line together, it's going to take a miracle to protect the quarterback and keep the run game alive. This is tough news, Raider Nation. Really tough. But we'll keep tracking every update, every roster move, and every possible replacement option that could help stabilize this unit. So stay with me, there's more to break down ahead. What would you give this Raiders offensive line, a 1, a 5, or a hard 0? Drop your number in the comments, that will be the pinned question for today's show. If you ask me straight up, my confidence number is low, 1. I want to be wrong. I want to believe this group can hold up. But when you see them likely facing the Cowboys' big interior, that's a matchup that keeps you up at night. We've had a little extra prep time, sure. So did Dallas. That doesn't erase the sheer force they'll bring inside. The matchup looks brutal on paper, and that's why this is so worrying for the Raiders. Now, I'm not joking when I say we might need help, real, honest help. If you're a big Raider fan who knows the trenches, leave a comment and say so. If you've got size and grit and you'd jump at the chance to help this team right now, make your voice heard below. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's not. Either way, I want to see who's ready to stand up for this team. Coming up next, we'll look at 3 internal names who could step in for JPJ and Parham. Keep those 3 names in mind, they might be the only realistic hope the Raiders have this week. Stay with me, alright, Raider Nation, let's talk about possible replacements for JPJ and Parham, because this situation is getting serious fast. Now, the names most people expect to hear are Alex Kappa and Will Putnam, but honestly, I don't want to see either one of them starting right now. It's not about disrespect, it's about reality. We've already seen what they can, and can't, do. It's time to test new blood, guys who still have something to prove and a hunger to fight for it. The first player I want to see get a real shot is Leki Tosi. Yes, he's part of the International Pathway program, and no, he might not be fully polished for NFL action yet, but think about it. At this point, what do you really have to lose? Tosi's got the size, the strength, and he flashed solid potential in the preseason. Why not give him a handful of snaps and see if that spark can grow into something? I'd take that unknown upside over watching Kappa get pushed back again. Next up, Caleb Rogers. You spent a 3rd-round pick on him out of Texas Tech, and yet he's been sitting quietly behind the veterans. Sure, he was a bit of a reach on draft night, but if you believed in him enough to draft him that high, then prove it. Put him on the field. Let him take those lumps, learn fast, and show whether he can hold his own. If you're still claiming Will Putnam is a better option, then that's either poor evaluation or a lack of confidence in your own draft class. Either way, it's time to find out what you've got. I'd slot Rodgers in at left guard, throw him into the fire and see how he handles it. And finally, Charles Grant, this one's a little different. I wouldn't stick him at guard. Instead, I'd test him at tackle. He played left tackle at William and Mary, and if he can translate even part of that skill set to the pros, he could be a long-term answer when Colton Miller eventually moves on. You could try Grant on the left side and slide DJ Glaze over to right tackle. That gives the Raiders a chance to see how both sides of the line can stabilize before things completely unravel. Bottom line, this is not the time for safe decisions. It's time for bold ones. Give the young guys a chance to prove they belong, because right now, the Raiders need more than experience. They need fight. Stay with me, because what comes next could define the rest of this season. Alright, let's keep it real about DJ Glaze. I like the kid's effort, but the more film I watch, the more it feels like he's miscast at tackle. You can just see it, the footwork, the leverage, the body control, it all screams offensive guard, not tackle. It reminds me a little of Thayer Munford's situation from a few years ago. Same story, a player with talent and potential, but maybe not at the position he's been asked to hold down. And instead of letting Glaze struggle and lose confidence out on the edge, it might be smarter to slide him inside and let him use his strength where it matters most, in the trenches. That's why, when we talk about replacing JPJ and Dylan Parham, the conversation has to include Caleb Rodgers and Charles Grant. These are third-round picks, guys this front office believed in enough to invest real draft capital. If you don't even give them a chance to compete now, then why draft them in the first place? It's time to see what they can do, not just stash them on the depth chart. But let's be honest, what fans really want to know is this: are there outside options? Could the Raiders look beyond the roster for immediate help? And the answer is, yes, they absolutely should. I've got 3 free agent targets that could step in right now and be a clear upgrade over what the Raiders currently have. Players with real experience, proven toughness, and the ability to stabilize this line before it completely collapses. Because let's face it, this isn't just about filling spots. It's about protecting your quarterback, saving your offense, and giving Raider Nation something to believe in again. Stay with me, those names are coming next. Let's talk about what the Raiders must do next, because sitting still is no longer an option. If I were running things in Vegas, I'd give Caleb Rodgers and Charles Grant their shot, no hesitation. They're young, they're hungry, and at this point, that's exactly the kind of energy the offensive line needs. But let's be real, this staff is under pressure. Everyone from Chip Kelly to Geno Smith, even Brandon Carroll, knows what's at stake. Their jobs, their reputations, their future with this organization, all of it depends on whether they can keep this team competitive. And if they're desperate to win now, then they'll need to make a move. Because right now, with JPJ and Parham both sidelined, this might be the weakest offensive line in the entire NFL. So let's look at a few free agent options that could bring some immediate stability to this group. First up, Nate Davis. He's not a superstar, but he's a big, physical interior lineman who can hold his ground and bring toughness to the trenches. Last season, he allowed just 1 sack in 5 games, and honestly, that's better than what we've seen from some of the current starters. At this point, you don't need perfect, you just need better. Next, Mark Glowinski. He's a name that should sound familiar. He's got history with Pete Carroll, having played under him in Seattle from 2015 to 2017. That connection matters. He's versatile enough to play both guard spots, and while his grades have never been elite, slightly below average, still beats, consistently overwhelmed. In this situation, experience and familiarity could be exactly what the Raiders need. And finally, Shaq Mason. If the Raiders are truly serious about protecting their quarterback and salvaging the rest of the season, this is the name they need to circle. Mason brings leadership, consistency, and proven success from his years in New England and Tampa Bay. He's the kind of veteran presence who can anchor a line and instantly raise the standard for everyone around him. If the Raiders want to show their players, and their fans, that they're still fighting, signing someone like Shaq Mason would send that message loud and clear. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you next might be the most important decision the Raiders face all year. If there's one name that still stands out above the rest, it's Shaq Mason. The man's resume speaks for itself: over a decade in the league, nearly 150 career starts, and more than 900 snaps played last season. That's experience, that's endurance, and that's exactly what this Raiders offensive line is missing right now. Sure, he might not know Brennan Carroll's system yet. Sure, he's been out of football for a bit. But ask yourself this: if you've already poured time, energy, and patience into the current O-line and this is the result, how much worse could a proven veteran really be? Sometimes, the only way forward is to admit that your plan isn't working and make a bold change. I'm not saying that signing Shaq Mason, Mark Glowinski, or even Nick Gates would instantly transform this offensive line. But if you're genuinely trying to evaluate Chip Kelly, Geno Smith, and Brandon Carroll, then give them a real chance. Because how can you judge your quarterback or your coaches when they're being crushed behind a line that can't hold for 2 seconds? So yes, the Raiders need to sign another offensive lineman. They need depth. They need professionalism. They need players who can walk in and demand accountability from the first snap. And if this organization still believes in commitment to excellence, then now is the time to show it. Stop recycling the same lineups and expecting new results. Stop protecting egos and start protecting the quarterback. Show the fans that you're serious about building something better. Show the players that leadership still exists in Las Vegas. And show the rest of the league that the silver and black aren't just going to lie down and fade away. The record might say 2-7, but pride is still on the line. And that's something worth fighting for.